Yo, what's up guys, I'm Yannick from the Produce School, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create the perfect tom grooves for Afro, deep or melodic house. When creating tom grooves, syncopation is a very important concept to know. Syncopation in drum programming is when you place drum hits, like for instance toms, in unexpected places to create a catchy rhythm that makes music more interesting and groovy. This is achieved by emphasizing the offbeats or the weaker beats in a rhythm instead of the strong, predictable ones. The stronger beats are the 1, 2, 3 and 4, which in house music is the kick. And by placing your other drums, such as the toms, in the more unexpected spots in between, you can create a very nice groove. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and with that being said, let's create a nice tom groove. First of all, let's set the foundations for the groove with a low tom sound. A lot of the Afro, deep or melodic tracks use electronic sounding toms. That's because it's electronic dance music. What this means is that the toms are being synthesized and not made out of a real recording of an actual tom drum. The famous 808 tom is a really good example of a synthesized tom drum, and I'll be using a similar kind of sample for that, which is this tom sound from our Oasis pack. It sounds like this, which is basically a sine wave with an envelope and a little bit of noise. I want this tom sample to sound even lower, so I'm going to pitch it down 6 semitones, which will then sound like this on a C note. And when working with toms like these, it's useful to know the key of the tom, so your toms are in key with the rest of your track. If the sample doesn't have a key label, I will show you a very easy trick to find out the key of the sample. To find the key of the tom, you could open an EQ like FabFilter Pro Q3, which also has a keyboard here. And then let's search for the highest peak in this tom, which should be the root note. So over here you can see that there's a very high peak, and this will be the fundamental note of this tom. So let's make it even more narrow and see how that sounds. If you're not very sure, like now it could be a G or a G sharp. You can also pitch up the sample like 1 octave, and then you can probably hear it better, which is here. So yeah, this should be a G. Now we know that the root note of this tom is G, and I'll be working in this key as well, so we can leave it. Let's put it down an octave again, and now let's start creating the actual groove with this tom. Let's drag in the pattern for the low tom, and now let's just start playing around, placing some notes on the offbeats and see how that sounds. There's not one exact way on how to do this. It's basically trial and error, putting the notes to the right or the left and see what kind of rhythm you like. But what's most important is that you don't put the toms on the main beats, which are the 1, 2, 3 and 4 here, because there's the kick is playing and you don't want the tom to be clashing with your kick, and it basically doesn't add anything to the rhythm. I quite like this progression for the low tom. But to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to put down the last tom hit, which is over here. I'm going to put down this last tom hit 5 semitones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This last hit will now play 5 semitones lower, which is a perfect fifth. If you know music theory, you know that this usually works well. Then it sounds like this. So it's even lower than the first few tom hits, and this makes it a little bit more interesting as well. Now that the low tom is set, I also want to introduce a high tom, and I'm going to fill up the gaps that the low tom has over here. So let's see if we can make a nice pattern for the high tom as well. The sample that I'll be using for the high tom drum is a very similar 808 kind of sample as the first tom. You could also use the low tom as your high tom by just pitching it up. But instead of doing that, I wanted to use a different sample to make it a little bit more interesting. Just like the low tom, let's just start playing around with the notes and see if we can come up with a nice rhythm. Let's first work in the same pattern as the low tom so we can see exactly where the low tom is playing. So we have those ghost notes over here. It's nice to see. And let's just start putting it there. By putting the high tom on this last fourth beat, exactly on the beat, you hear that it's clashing with the kick. Let's just copy this to the next section as well. There you have a simple yet effective tom groove with a low and a high tom. To make this a little bit more interesting, I'm going to use some velocity variations for the high tom. And this also adds a little bit more realistic effect. So you can go here, you see you have the velocity notes over here, and then just start dragging it down and dragging down this one as well. And the hit that has the highest velocity also will be where the accent of this beat will be. Something like that. Let's put it in a different pattern. So we have two separate patterns. A trick that you can utilize to spice some things up is by using a real tom and layer it with your electronic sounding toms. So let's look for a more realistic tom. This one maybe. And let's see if we can put it in some nice spots. Maybe here. Or just at the end with the very low tom. Let's put an effect on this real tom. I basically want to remove all of the high frequencies. So let's do that with an EQ and create this low pass filter. So it's filtered a lot. Something like that. Then let's also add some effects to the low and the high tom. For the low tom, I will be using a decapitator to add some saturation and distortion to the tom, which I think can sound really cool with this one. Not too much, just finding the right spot. Let's drag down the wet level a little bit. This adds a bit more harmonics and aggressiveness to this tom. Which sounds cool. And let's also add a Valhalla room to add a little bit of reverb. For this low tom, I want to use a very short decay time. And let's lower down the mix as well. Just to add a little bit of room to this low tom. Maybe also decrease the high cut. So the reverb is more filtered and has less high frequencies. Something like this. And for the high tom, let's add a delay with Fruity Delay 3. Let's set it to ping pong mode, put the pen all the way to the left, decrease the wet level, add a low pass filter, and let's set the time to 1 to create this kind of slap delay, so a really fast delay sound. I will mix it in. This also adds a little bit more stereo and this very wide ping pong delay also adds some nice stereo information to this groove. Let's also add a Valhalla room for some reverb on the high tom. Just a low mix level. And one thing I'm going to add is a stereo shaper on the realistic tom. This plugin will push the sounds to the size of the speakers, so it's very, very stereo. It's maybe a little bit too much. Sounds nice. Let me add some more elements to this groove so you have a better idea of how it can sound in context. First of all, this piano, which plays some nice chords. And let's add some shakers. This one maybe. Maybe a percussion loop. Just for the ID. And there you have a very solid foundation for your drum groove with some nice tom drums. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you want to check out all the sounds that I was using in this video, then check out the link in the description, which goes to our website theproducer.com. If you have any questions about tom drums and tom grooves, then let me know in the comments and I will try to help you there. If you have any questions about tom drums or tom grooves, then feel free to drop a comment and I will try to get back to you on there and help you with your productions. For now, I want to thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.